Well, let's ask Danny Cunningham. He joins us right now. He's the host of Locked On Cavs, Inside Shot on Substack, Cleveland Magazine, 92.3 The Fan. He was with me last week. He's all over the place in Cleveland. Hello, Danny.
Good morning, Ken. How are you?
Danny, I'm doing well. The Cavs did well last night. They won. They were able to hold off Chicago. It was a James Harden night. Donovan had the night off. We'll get into all the injuries and weirdness and worries about that in a moment. But, you know, Evan Mobley has been the center of attention. And we asked Fana about it earlier. He says they do have a bit of an Evan Mobley problem. Do you think the Cavs have an Evan Mobley problem?
I think the problem with Evan Mobley right now is that he's not making free throws, because I think other than that, he's been fantastic. With Jared Allen out over these 7 games, Evan's averaging, I believe it's like 23 and 10.5 right now, or 11. And if he were shooting free throws at a respectable rate, he'd be scoring 25 points a night during that stretch. So I think the problem with him is that he's missing these free throws. He went 2 of 6 last night. A couple of those misses were in crunch time. Now, granted, that game never should have been in crunch time, but he was fantastic other than the free throws. And against Milwaukee on Tuesday night, had 27 points. And he, I believe, only missed 2 free throws in that game. But he's been playing, I think, some of the best basketball he's played, with the exception of he needs to be making his free throws. Because if he continues to shoot free throws like this, and this has been the worst free throw shooting season of his career so far, if he continues to shoot free throws like this, I think it makes you uncomfortable down the stretch of some playoff games. And he is somebody that you need to have on the floor because of how good he is on both ends of it. But he needs to figure out a way. He needs to figure out what's going on with this free throw shooting thing, because that is holding him back from being even better than he has been.
Jared Allen has gotten a lot of grief over the years, but are we just finding out right now how valuable he really is to this Cavs team?
I think, yes, to some extent, but I also think, like, he was playing the best basketball he's ever played. Like, two things can be true at once. Like, the Cavs are always better when they're healthy, and I think that's true of just about every team in basketball, right? Like, when you have your best players available, you're going to be better. And then also, like, it's accentuated because before this knee injury for Jared Allen, he was playing, I thought, the best basketball of his career as well. Like, pairing him with James Harden, I think, did help to take Jared's game to another level. I do think this started before Harden arrived here in Cleveland, but I do think that, you know, Jared is a very, very important player to this team, because I do think one of the things that doesn't necessarily get talked about a lot, but on the defensive end of the floor, he is part of the way the Cavs unlock Evan Mobley. Evan's a really, really good rim protector, but that's not the thing he does best. When he has Jared Allen on the floor alongside him, Evan can cause so much more chaos and make life so much more difficult for opposing offenses. And, like, it's not rocket science to think, oh, yes, the Cavs are better defensively when they have both Jared and Evan on the floor. That's not breaking news to anybody. But I think we've really seen that with the way that Evan plays defensively, because he's still a really good defender without Jared. But I think that having that rim protector on the floor alongside him allows Evan to do so much more. And then offensively, like what Jared has done with James Harden, and like I said, even a little bit before James got to Cleveland, has been really, really impressive. And having that pick and roll partnership while not having Evan and Donovan on the floor, I think is a really big boost for this team. So they've definitely been worse off without him.
We got Danny Cunningham joining us, Locked On Cavs. It's been amazing where we've gone through this weird evolution with all these players now, Danny, where, you know, it's Darius Garland. This team's better with Darius Garland. No, they're better without Darius Garland. Darius Garland's gone, but they got the right player. And then, like, Jarrett, you know, I think there were times where some fans, the majority of fans, if they were going to mess with the core four, he was out of here on the first thing smoking. And now it's like, boy, you're really seeing how important he is to this basketball team and their chances to get to the Eastern Conference Finals and perhaps the NBA Finals.
Yeah, I mean, as over the past couple of off seasons, I thought it would have made sense at times to move on from Jared Allen. And, like, as you look at, you know, everything in the NBA and really, I guess, professional sports as a whole has some sort of expiration date. And for the core four, I was always of the opinion that expiration date is going to be, okay, they're going to trade Jared Allen at some point because that is the easiest thing to do, rather than break up the backcourt with, like, let's face it, I think of those 4 guys, Jared Allen is the least talented of them. I don't think that that's necessarily a discussion. But, now I do think opinion has changed a little bit on Jarrett. And I think that part of the reason it changed is when Evan Mobley exited the lineup at the end of January with that left calf strain, this his second one of the year, Jarrett then, I think, really took advantage of that situation where you saw his numbers instantly increase. They've always bumped up a little bit when Evan has been out of the lineup. Evan has been, for the most part, a pretty durable player, though. But I think that you saw Jarrett really take advantage of that situation. You remember that 40-point game that he had against the Portland Trail Blazers. That was pre-James Harden getting to town. That was on February 1st. James Harden was still on the Clippers at that point. So I think that we've seen him just take a step up in a way that has made him more valuable to this team. And, of course, there are always surprising things in the NBA, because if you would have asked me a year ago, I would have said if the Cavs trade someone from the core four, it would have been Jarrett Allen. And the fact that it was Darius Garland and not him, I think says a lot. And I just think it really does speak to the importance of how Jarrett Allen makes this team better.
Danny, the health of this basketball team has been an issue since the season began. It seems like they get one guy back, another guy goes out. How concerned are you with less than 15 games to go that they're not going to get healthy enough in time for what is expected to be a deep playoff run?
Very. I think that is the most concerning thing with this team right now. Donovan has been beat up. Obviously, he's dealing with the eye thing last night, and I saw him here in Chicago prior to the game, just like passed into the hallway, and that eye does not look good, man. I can
What doesn't look good?
His eye.
His what?
His left eye.
Oh. I thought you were going to call it his
I can't do that the way you can do that, Ken.
Sorry.
I can't do that the way you can do that.
I knew exactly where you were going with that, Ken.
When our guy calls in, oh, man.
2 days in a row with left eye references, though.
Yeah.
Yesterday it was Lisa left eye.
Yeah. And we're hoping that the Cavaliers set the rest of the Eastern Conference on fire. Danny Cunningham joining us on the show. Continue with Donovan's aye.
It's obviously an issue right now. And to Jalen Tyson last night, who was in the starting lineup for the first time in a couple of weeks. I believe the last time he started prior to last night was the game against Detroit at home, in which they won. And Jalen has been a much, much better player when he's been in the starting lineup since these trades were made than when he's coming off the bench. I think figuring out Tyson's role needs to be of the utmost importance. And he's back in the starting lineup, has 18 points, 8 of 14 shooting, has 11 rebounds, just the best game that he's played in a month at this point. And he hurts his toe. He can't finish the game. Like, that's why he was not part of the closing lineup. So, Daryl, you're right. Like, it does seem like they get one guy back. Obviously, Max Strus came back and has had, I think he did not play well last night, but I thought his first two games were impactful, if nothing else. So they need to figure out a way to get healthy, because I think there's a very real chance that we go through this entire 82-game regular season and do not see the Cavs at full strength for a single game.
If this does not end the way we all thought, expected, hoped, and more so the Cavaliers as an organization are expecting here, the Evan Mobley, Giannis conversation just doesn't seem to be going away. Your thoughts?
I do think that conversation could spark back up, but I also think that there needs to be a little bit of pause with any Giannis conversation. And I realize how great this guy is, but I think you need to look at what this year was, and that type of trade, especially with what we've seen from Evan lately too. Like, I think this has been a reminder, oh yeah, this guy's still getting better and he's still really, really good, even if he's a player that does have some faults still. But look at Giannis's injury history. Like, that is an issue. The fact that he keeps having these soft tissue injuries pop up, the fact that he's 31 years old at this point. Like, when you're on that side of 30 and your body has been through what Giannis's body has been through, I'm not saying don't do it, but I don't think that it's necessarily a no-brainer of a trade the way that everybody would like to make it sound, because yes, it's Giannis. It's a two-time MVP. It's one of the best players in the world when he's healthy. But he's probably going to wrap up this year playing 36 games, and he's not a guy that is ever going to sit out just to sit out. Like, he's sitting out because he's had significant calf injuries, a significant groin injury, now a knee hyperextension. Like, that's a lot of stuff, and that stuff wears on you. I do believe that Giannis's best days are probably behind him. I don't know, are the rest of Giannis's days in the NBA better than what the rest of Evans is going to be? I'm not so sure about that. Giannis is obviously a better player right now, but because of the injuries to him, I don't know how much longer that's going to be true, and that is a risk that you have to weigh if you're the Cavs, if you even think about being in those conversations.
Danny, what's a real criticism of Kenny Atkinson? I shy away from it because I think we found a lot of things with J.B. Bickerstaff, which was just normal stuff because we felt that he was on his way out.
I think that the Jalen Tyson role conversation is real criticism of Kenny because they have not figured out a way to get the most out of him, and they have fluctuated his role quite a bit. And I think that's a really, really challenging thing for a guy in his second year in the NBA to figure out. Now, I will say that Kenny has been dealt a tough hand this year given the injuries. Like, it's really challenging as a coach to navigate an 82-game season where, like I said, we might go through this, where the Cavs do not have their full roster available a single time this year. And that's a really, really difficult thing. And I will always emphasize that because I know how challenging it is, especially when you trade your all-star point guard for another all-star point guard at the trade deadline, and you trade the guy that you thought was going to be your long-term starting small forward in DeAndre Hunter for two other role players at the trade deadline. Like those are challenges for him. But I look at how good Jalen Tyson has been this year, where at times he looks like a guy that can be a future all-star in the NBA, and they haven't been able to quite figure out the role for him when they're fully healthy. And I think that for them to be at their best, I'm not saying Jalen's the most important player they have, but for them to be at their best, they need Jalen Tyson to be close to his best. They need him to be impactful. And the fact that they haven't been able to get that figured out when he's coming off the bench, or they haven't figured out should he be in the starting lineup ahead of Dean Wade, I think that's a fair criticism of Kenny.
All right, Danny, I want to ask you a question. Well, obviously, we're doing an interview here.
I'm glad you're doing that.
Yeah. It's dumb. Dummy. Lakers beat the Heat last night, 134-126. And I can't find the damn thing. There was something that was brought up on ESPN about LeBron James, about LeBron at his best when he was with the Heat. Who got the better version of LeBron James, the Miami Heat or the Cleveland Cavaliers?
The Cleveland Cavaliers.
Why?
Because of what LeBron did that last year in Cleveland. I think that was the best year of his career. I think that was the most impressive year of his career. I think the Cavs the first Cavs stint got the most athletic version of LeBron. For whatever reason, across my Twitter timeline recently, there have just been these highlights of like what LeBron looked like in 2009, and it is something that I have not seen in the NBA since. Like, he's just this remarkable athletic freak. And he was an incredible player in Miami, and he was on some incredible teams. I would argue the best team he played for was the 2012-2013 version of the Miami Heat. But then to watch what he did in the 27-18 season, where I think everybody kind of knew that that was his last one in Cleveland for that stint, and that he was going somewhere. We didn't know it was going to be the Lakers, but I think everybody kind of knew he was going somewhere else. And to watch him play in all 82 games and be somebody that obviously he did not win the MVP. I believe that was the year James Harden won the MVP. But he was an MVP type guy at the age of, at that point, I think he was 33 or 34, played in all 82 games. And then the postseason run that he went on, which I think involved that game one of the finals against the Golden State Warriors, in which they lost. He had 50-plus points. I think that has an argument to be the best game that he ever played. So I do think that last year in Cleveland was the best year that he played. Now, he was fantastic those 4 years in Miami, and I think that you were seeing a very, very high athletic version of LeBron as a guy that had learned how to win for the first time. But I don't think that the drop-off athletically between that and when he was in Cleveland the second time is all that much. And I think that by the end of his stint in Cleveland, he had just mastered the game of basketball in a way that was so impressive to me.
Danny Cunningham, find him on Twitter at RealDCunningham. He's on everything. Locked on Cavs. Subscribe to it. He's a wonderful man. Danny, thank you very much for the time.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Danny Cunningham on the Make It Right Call Car Right hotline.